Oh, good morning. Good morning. It's pre-show time. We got the first 5 questions in. Let's yell over this music. What other way to do it than to yell over the music? Who got the first 5? Ryan. Filled types. A series of characters that I don't know how to translate. And JC, you guys got the first 5 in. I do appreciate that when people see that there are 5, they like kind of stop doing it. But throw your questions in, because I'll hit them after the show. But we are going to move along at a pretty good clip today because we're starting a little bit late because I had to do a bunch of things this morning that I normally do late at night. Because yesterday I had a play-by-play gig that was out at USC, home of the Trojans. And they had a baseball game that was, oh my good Lord. That was, I think, maybe the coldest and most uncomfortable I've ever been in my life. Ooh, man, was that cold. It was like 44 with 20 some odd mile an hour winds in an outdoor press box. I had 5 layers on my upper body, and I was still cold. Finally, the wind died down in like the 7th inning, and then I was pretty comfortable the rest of the way in 5 layers. Because the 40 some odd degrees, like, you can handle that because you can just bundle up. But as soon as that wind hits you and it just moves everything, and every exposed piece of skin is just... They lost. But I made it. I think that's actually what matters here. Oh, man. So anyway, I'm a little tired. And let's just dive straight into the 5 pre-show questions here. Oh, yeah, like and subscribe. I put it on the screen down yonder. Like and subscribe. If anybody new, like and subscribe. Ryan, what is your strategy in a bye week? Do you stash players in your IR and stack up streamers for the first day, or do you focus on adding players with upside like Tari Eason? I typically do nothing until Friday at the very earliest because weird stuff happens. Sometimes your own players get hurt during that span and you need to replace them. You want to have your moves for the weekend. But then once that all shakes out, I typically go for stacked early week streamers. Not just Monday, like Monday through Thursday. You want to stack guys that have 3 games the first 4 days of your following week. So then you can pivot the next week to either a move on Friday to get 2 moves over the last 3 days. Or if you wanted to make a move after Tuesday, you could maybe switch off of a guy to another guy. I'm not dabbling with injured dudes because I don't want to deal with the will they, won't they at the beginning of the week. That's a super annoying position to put yourself in. Are Tari Eason and Matisse Thybulle must roster 12-team points league? So Thybulle's been really good here lately, and he'll be good for longer now that Anthony Simons tried to come back and play too soon. I mean, how many players are going to do this same stupid crap this year where they come back before they're actually right? We heard Simons was going to be dealing with a grade 2 sprain, which was supposed to be about a month, and then he came back, I can play in 2 weeks or whatever it is, and obviously, no, that was a freaking dumb idea. Why are we still letting this happen? Good Lord. So, Thybulle's been playing well, but he probably won't score the way he has been most games, even with Simons out. So, points league, he remains a little fringy. Tari Eason is interesting because Jayshawn Tate was back, but only played 18 minutes in yesterday's game. And what we've been talking about all week on this show is how Eason needs Tate to get out of the way. Typically, that's required him to be in foul trouble or taking a game off to rest some sort of injury. But if that starts to... If that starts to flip, then you want to be in front of it. I think what we said on yesterday's show was that Eason is a speculative ad in the hopes that he can get up to like 24, 25 minutes a game. I still don't know that it's going to happen for sure. Houston's been pretty weird this year. Warm water today. But if you have a roster slot, Eason would be a good person to sort of squad on here and just kind of see what happens over the next like 3 games with this whole Jayshawn Tate thing. Question 3 pre-show. Is Jabari Smith a drop in 12-team category leagues? He was a never add. Don't draft injured players. Filled types, I think you're somewhat new to the Dan Vespris ethos. By the way, didn't actually say that because the name of the website. That's actually the word that I meant to use in that instance. My ethos, one of my main tenets of fantasy basketball, is do not draft rookies. They struggle with the learning curve in the NBA. Almost all of them. A handful sometimes kind of bust through it in some way, and it's not usually the ones you expect. A la Jalen Williams this year. Probably going to be the best rookie, fantasy-wise. So here's the thing. If you've been sitting on Jabari Smith this whole time, you probably sit on him a little bit longer. But if you're actually trying to win field goal percent, then you probably can't. He's a tough in-between. I have exactly zero Jabari Smiths on any of my basketball teams. But if I did, I would probably still be just squatting on him and hoping that things turn for the better. What's going on with John Collins? Somebody dropped him. Is he a good pickup? Yeah, I think you should add John Collins, starting power forward with good both percentages. I would. He's not going to be the guy that folks wanted him to be. I also have 0 John Collinses on any of my 10 fantasy teams because I thought he was going to be a guy who took a step backwards this year. And he got off to a really fast start, and I kind of went, ooh. And then he stunk since then. So took a couple weeks, but then I got that one right. I got nervous at the beginning. I thought I totally misread the John Collins situation, but I don't. I do think he'll be a little bit better here than he has been. But will that be good enough for you? I don't know. I think he'll probably be like a top 90 sort the rest of the way. So I would add him, even if he's sort of boring. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Last question before the show begins. Hey, Dan. What's up, JC? Playoffs start next week. Should I drop Josh Hart for DeLon Wright? DeLon has better schedule. Yeah, I'm okay with that. They're both playing about 25 minutes a game. So you're playing the minutes played game to a certain degree. And in a roto games cap format, I'd rather have Josh Hart. But in a playoff league where if DeLon has 1 or 2 extra ball games, he's probably going to be the more valuable player. All right, friends, keep throwing questions in the chat room throughout the show. I'll get to them at the end. I know some of you can just pop in for a little bit. You can pop in, put your question in there, come back, and you can check out the answer at some point down the line. Like and subscribe while I get my recording software booted up here. Oh, you know what? I actually did it already today. That was smart. Look at you, Dan. You're growing up before our very eyes. You can put questions in the chat room that are not fantasy basketball related if you want. Doesn't have to all be fantasy basketball. I'm happy to answer super weird questions too. But let's count this thing down from about 20 seconds, and then we'll get this bad boy going. Welcome back, Kevin Durant. There is no other way I should start this show, but welcome back, Kevin Durant. He returns, and he looked good. He looked good, ladies and gentlemen. 23 points in 27 minutes, 6 boards, couple of blocks, great percentages as always. Oh, baby. I'm especially happy. I have Kevin Durant on a couple of my regular fantasy teams, but I'm especially happy because I have Kevin Durant on my 30 deep team. And I know you guys don't really care about my 30 deep team, but I don't care because I do. And now all of a sudden, Kristaps Porzingis, by the way, is supposed to be back today. Kelly Oubre is back in the starting lineup and chucking like crazy. Kevin Durant just came back. I had those 3 key guys out, 2 of them for a really long time. And to get those guys back, which was effectively, well, KD and KP were my top 2 picks in 30 deep. I still managed to hold on to a first-round bye, which is kind of amazing with how long Oubre and Durant were out. That's how strong my fantasy team was in that one. I think for the first time, well, like maybe 2-ish years ago, I had a really good team in 30 deep, but they all got hurt right at the playoffs. This year, they're coming back for the playoffs. We're in the middle of a bye week right now. I got a legitimate shot if those guys stay upright the rest of the way. Root for your pal Dano. I'd love to get a 30 deep trophy. That's the oldest 30-team big bopper league in fantasy basketball. Often imitated, never duplicated. The great 30 deep rolls on. There's a feeder league for that now, too. So if folks are kind of coasting and think they can just hang out in 30 deep forever, no. You'll be supplanted by someone who wants your spot. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. Fantasy NBA Today is the name of the show. I am your host, Dan Bespris, at Dan Bespris on Twitter. For those of you listening, welcome in. For those of you watching live on YouTube, welcome to you as well. I hope that if you are watching live, you'll like and subscribe the video. If you're listening, come on and join us on YouTube next time. And either way, find me on Twitter at DANBESBRIS. For some of you, you can just copy the letters right there on your smart device screen. SportsEthos.com is the website for Sports Ethos, at Ethos Fantasy BK over on Twitter. But let's go ahead and just dive right on in. We've got plenty to recap here from a medium large. I know that a small medium combo is smedium, but what's a medium large combo? Is that Ledium Marge? Chicago beat Detroit. Barely. Patrick Beverley, 10 rebounds and 10 assists and 4 steals. But look, he's been playing basically starters minutes for the Chicago team since he showed up. And this is the first one where he had any fantasy value. So I'm going to need to see this about 3 more times before I believe it's something real. For Detroit, James Wiseman, still not good at fantasy basketball. Marvin Bagley, still not good at fantasy basketball. They each had 9 rebounds, so I guess if that's what you're hunting, you did fine. Bagley only got 19 minutes because Hamidou Diallo and Corey Joseph played a ton off the bench. It was weird. I mean, this is the magic of the Detroit Pistons. These teams that are down at the bottom, they don't have to try to lose anymore. So you're really going to see a weird mix and match in Detroit. What I think we're also seeing here is how much better Jalen Durant is than these other front court options, but we'll take that as we see it. If you have Jalen Durant and you're in your playoffs, you're probably forced to move on. If you're in some other format, hopefully you can kind of just hang on and hope for the best. Bojan Bogdanovic came back. He was the offense, 34 points, and everybody else tried to scrape together a few. Killian Hayes was decent in his 24 minutes. He did have 7 assists and 3 steals to kind of buoy his fantasy value, and he remains a back-end point guard option. Bagley, he's someone you're really only even looking at in a points league anyway. Same story for James Wiseman. Same story for Hamidou Diallo. And Jaden Ivey came back. He's been decent, but again, he'll get you with those turnovers and free throw percent. And so onward we move here because I happen to think that team falls in the maybe this is more effort than it's worth kind of department. But anyway, let's get to Phoenix because, come on, who isn't excited about the fact that Kevin Durant is a Phoenix Sun? And not only, look, we were told he was going to be on a minutes cap coming back. I thought he was going to play around 20, and I still would have played him in fantasy in 20 minutes, but he got 27 and was excellent. 23 points, 6 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 2 3-pointers, 10 out of 15 shooting. He looked like Kevin Durant. Chris Paul, everybody's going to freak out, I'm sure, because he only had 2 points, but he missed most of his 8 shots. It's just a weird year for Chris Paul. He just hasn't been able to hit his jumpers. Feels somewhat anomalous. Maybe we could blame it on old age, but I don't know. He's getting mostly the same looks he always gets. He's just not making them this year. Very strange. That's what's going to keep him down in the 30s. A field goal percent and free throw percent, both way down. Sometimes that happens when he's dealing with injury stuff. Remember that from Houston? It was always a hammy. This year, he's had the hip stuff going on. In any event, Devin Booker had a big ball game. I do think that, and for most of you, I know your league's trade deadlines have probably passed, but if they haven't, then this is probably a sell high moment for Booker because I don't think he's going to get 26 shots every game once KD is fully settled in. He happened to be shooting the ball really well. And Booker's still going to be good. But this may be one of the better ones the rest of the way. Because they just won't need him to take 26 shots most contests. Josh Okogie, the question was whether or not he could maintain fantasy value even after KD showed up. And early indicators are not really. 2 steals and a block is fine, but only 4 shots in 33 minutes. And it's just more guys all being kind of shoehorned into the same bucket now, where they got a few different buckets they could pick from before KD returned. But look, those minutes are Durant's now. Over on the Charlotte side, they did move Kelly Oubre into the starting lineup. I thought they might go Dennis Smith Jr. and get more of a distributor in there, but they went with the shoot first, which kind of turns Terry Rozier into the point guard. And, well, he and Gordon Hayward are the point guards in that starting unit. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. If they're really actually trying to win, Oubre should be coming off the bench and firing like a madman. It's a mismatched starting 5, but whatever. It's great for Oubre because he took 24 shots in this game yesterday. Mark Williams doubled. Great. Dennis Smith Jr. had 8, 5, and 6 with a steal and 2 blocks. I don't have anything really wrong with that. I wasn't a huge fan of the 4 6 free throws, but the 0 turnovers was nice. And then Gordon Hayward slowed down a little bit. Terry Rozier was awful. I know he scored 20 points, but yikes. 18 shots, missed a bunch of free throws, 6 turnovers. This is life without LaMelo Ball. Guys have to fill roles that they're not as accustomed to, and so efficiency is likely going to roll right into the toilet. Man, it's nice to see KD back out there. Go dance 30 deep, team. We're going to do this together, friends. Knicks blew out the Nets. Battle for New York was, not surprisingly, somewhat one-sided here. One of these has been way better than another. Nets have been kind of in free fall. It's hard to win when you lose your 2 superstars. Sorry, I know they got a lot of really fun wings out of the deal, and everybody was like, oh, this, gritty Nets club now. We're really excited about it. And then reality set in, as we all knew it would. That team is not going to be able to score reliably. And then here they couldn't even defend reliably. Knicks shot 61% in the ballgame. Nick Claxton, when he's getting overpowered, I don't know what the Nets are going to do defensively. But no real surprises there. It's the same 4 guys for Brooklyn that have fantasy value right now. It's just that they're not winning basketball games. Knicks are winning basketball games. In fact, they've rattled off 7 wins in a row, second longest win streak in the NBA, to the 16 in a row for Milwaukee. Good Lord. Bucks are steamrolling the NBA, as we kind of figured they would once Middleton got right. I know he didn't even play yesterday. Bucks are scary again, guys. Did we all forget how good they were when Brook Lopez was anchoring the middle and they had all 3 of their studs on offense? Screw that. And defense. Drew Holiday is an amazing defender. Giannis, Brook Lopez, they have a lot of really good players. Bucks might have repeated as champions last year if Middleton doesn't go down. But whatever. That's not a fantasy angle. That's just life. We were talking about the Knicks, and I got sidetracked because I wanted to see where they were. They're the 5 seed right now, only a game and a half back of the Cavaliers. Knicks have a shot at home court in a round of the playoffs. Jalen Brunson was incredible again. Quentin Grimes got hot, so that meant Josh Hart got a little bit marginalized. He only took 3 shots in 26 minutes. I like the rest of the stuff that Hart was doing, so I'm not going to make too many adjustments. Emmanuel Quickley's been pretty reliably scoring lately. They love the growth he's made on defense, so he is now very much a 7th man for New York. And the Knicks suddenly got, a little bit deeper. Josh Hart was a big acquisition for them to go from a 6-player team that they trusted to 7. And then Isaiah Hartenstein's actually been playing better here lately. He's not an ad or anything, but a lot going right for the Knicks. I wouldn't expect Grimes to do this on a nightly basis, and we've seen that he isn't doing this, so don't overreact to one big ball game. Same story for Hart. Don't overreact to one slower ball game because he still had 4 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Just didn't really get involved on offense and was a team best plus 30 for the game. So they still just simply are better when Hart is on the court. And the Knicks are aware of that. I said a lot of things about the Knicks to finish up by saying no changes. Joel Embiid took a night off. Philly won anyway. Basketball, Paul Reed had 16, 14, and 2 blocks off the bench. Philly went to a small starting 5 and kind of an odd decision. And then PJ Tucker had 4 fouls in 19 minutes and didn't really get to play. They needed Paul Reed to deal with Bam Adebayo. I would expect Embiid back for the next ball game, but I guess we don't really know. And then the other thing is, do they do the Montrezl Harrell dance? We never really know with Doc Rivers until about 8 seconds before the ball game starts. And in this one, we didn't know until like 6 minutes into the ball game which direction he was going to go. Of course, when Embiid is out, everybody gets a big usage bump, including, but not by much, our buddy DeAnthony Melton, who got all of 5 shots up. His usage was still very low, but his minutes became a bit more guaranteed without Embiid. And so this buys, I think, Melton at least one more game on rosters. Hanging on by a thread here, folks, but he's still hanging on. And on the other side, Kevin Love, 24 minutes, which, honestly, 24 minutes is probably about enough for him to have fantasy value. Not every day, though. And that's why remains kind of a fringy situation. Jimmy Butler left this ball game early. He's still considered probable. It was a blowout, so nobody really cared. If Kevin Love is starting, Kevin Love belongs on fantasy teams. Just understand there's almost no upside with him. And then we're seeing that the Heat really do kind of miss Kyle Lowry. Crazy though that may seem, Tyler Hero has cooled off. They need Lowry. And that big booty. And really more than anything, floor spacing. If he's not making it, you have to cover him. Derek White hurt his neck relatively late in this Boston win over Cleveland. He's questionable for their next ball game. If he misses the game, that would mean basically that Malcolm Brogdon is guaranteed value on a given night, which isn't always the case for Brogdon. I was more excited to see Big Al explode. 23 points, 11 boards, 3 assists, a block, 6 3-pointers, and 8 out of 10 shooting from the field, including, most of those being 3 balls. It moved Horford back up to number 76 on a per-game basis this year. He still profiles much more as a roto-type guy than a head-to-head type guy because he's going to sit back-to-backs. But, here's the thing. He's number 76 on the year. It's not an accident. You don't just get to be number 76. The guys around him are KCP, John Collins, CJ McCollum, Michael Porter Jr., Anthony Simons, Ja Morant, interestingly. And I get it. If you're punting turnovers, then Horford falls down the board, as does a guy like Trey Murphy and Okongwu and Walker Kessler and all these guys that are kind of in that same mix as low turnover dudes. But if you care about them at all, Horford gets a bump from it. He's just Big Al. He's Big Al. He's hitting over 2 3-pointers a game, and he's doing it on 48% shooting. That's hard to dislike. He's not exciting, but he's Big Al, and he's our friend. Let's keep moving. There really wasn't anything in that ball game. Milwaukee blew out Orlando because Milwaukee's just spanking people right now. I thought they'd rest some guys on the back-to-back. It seemed like, I think they had 5 dudes that were questionable on the back-to-back, and only Chris Middleton got the game off out of all of those guys. So Giannis, big ball game. Drew, big ball game. Brolo, no blocks, but he was solid as usual. But a situation is developing at the backup center power forward spot for this club. And we're seeing Milwaukee now, with the addition of Jay Crowder, more willing to go to a Giannis at center look, where Bobby Portis is exclusively playing center minutes now. So that's the first thing. So if Brook Lopez is playing 30, Portis is relegated to basically 18 minutes. And here, Portis didn't even get all of the backup center minutes because it was a blowout. Myers Leonard got 4 of them. Had it not been a blowout, I think you would have seen Portis at about 20, 21 minutes. Or maybe you saw Brook Lopez get up to 29 or 30. Either way, Milwaukee is, most ball games, now that they have their offense back, more prone to playing Brook and his rim-protecting defense than Portis, who's out there to go take shots, grab rebounds, and attack. I thought, well, you guys know it, you heard the podcast, I thought that Portis would continue to play about 20 to 22 minutes per game and sit near the edge of the top 100. It's turning out that he's not even getting to that mark. If this continues, I would give Bobby 2 more games. And if he doesn't crack 21 minutes in either of those 2 ball games, I'll move on. but that's the leash now for how long we want to see this thing through. Orlando got blown out, but it didn't really change the rotations that much because they don't trust that many of their deep bench guys, and most of their kind of, if you want to call it like not the scrubs necessarily, but the lower tier dudes on that club, they're playing anyway on a young team. So, Franz Wagner still got 30 minutes, and Markelle Fultz still played 32, and Paolo still played 31, even in a blowout loss. The notable thing here was Cole Anthony kind of woke back up. He'd been on a rough stretch, about 4 or 5 ball games. And I think I said it seemed like he was slipping into a schedule stream spot. Maybe he pushes himself back above that with this ball game. It still feels like there's no guarantee, but if he is heating back up, then maybe this turns into a little run for him. I still am not using a roto spot on Cole, but I think if you haven't been head-to-head, this probably in sort of the similar vein to someone like Anthony Melton, this buys a little bit more time before you have to make a move with it. Oh, a lot of folks just showed up to hang out with us on YouTube. That's awesome news. Maybe it's folks that were about to listen to a recorded pod and wait on it and thought, nah, you know what? I'll go check out the live one. That seems like more fun. You're right. If you're listening to this thing recorded after the fact, come join us on YouTube next time. It's youtube.com/sportsethos. Everybody that's watching live right now, you can throw questions in the chat room, and we'll get to those after we get through the box scores and looking ahead to the Thursday card. Throw those questions in, like and subscribe. Let's keep trucking. Memphis blew out Houston. This ballgame was not as close as the final score would indicate. Rockets won garbage time, whatever that's worth. My Xavier Tillman 2-day stream fell a little bit on harder times in this one. He still got 27 minutes. He just didn't have to do as much because Memphis went running out. Desmond Bane power bombed the Rockets, and this one got out of hand a little bit. Houston's side's the more interesting side, certainly for maybe 2 reasons. One big one, one medium one. The medium one is Kevin Porter Jr.'s back. He played 26 minutes. Looked like Kevin Porter Jr. Didn't get many assists, but he was out there and he was sort of doing his stuff. Jalen Green did not sit the back-to-back. He got 29 minutes in this blowout loss. So, I mean, here's the thing with Houston. They're, in my eyes, a lot like San Antonio, not necessarily just because they're both tanking ball games, but because both of those teams are loaded with guys who aren't particularly good at 9-category format fantasy basketball. Jabari Smith Jr. can't do anything offensively this year. Hadn't been able to hit a shot to save his life, but for about 3 ball games all season long. Kevin Porter. He's usually just on the right side of doing more good than bad. We've seen from Porter this year. He'll hover in like the 100 range, which means that your good is just barely outweighing the bad. But then you got Jalen Green, who's frankly, the field goal percent alone has been so brutal for Jalen that he hasn't been able to overcome it with the other stuff. Now, he's not getting steals or blocks, and his free throw is actually sub-average, and his turnovers are high, but it's really the field goal percent. So if you're punting field goal percent, Jalen Green makes a lot more sense. And with Kevin Porter, if you're punting either percentage or turnovers, he makes a lot more sense. Blah, 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 blah. I know. There's always a punt build. I feel like I need to say this once a week on the podcast. When I refer to someone as a points league friendly option, I'm also saying that particular punt builds, they make sense too. Because to be good in a points format, it typically means that a player is good in a couple of things, but also quite bad in a couple too. And when they balance out, they're a little bit below where you'd want them on a 9-category roster. But if you don't care about one or both of the things that are bad, then they become useful again. But that's a points league guy. You don't need to be good in a bunch of different categories to be useful in a points league. You need to be good in a few, and it doesn't matter if you're bad in the others. But the real thing here with Houston, and we've been talking about it all week long because it is notable, is Tari Eason getting to do a little bit more. I said on yesterday's show, and I stand by this particular assessment, is that he makes sense as a speculative ad in most formats. He's played 28, 31, and 25 minutes in his last 3 ball games. Eason has. 2 of those, you could draw a direct line to Jayshawn Tate. 2 games back, Tate was in foul trouble. He had 5 fouls in like 20 minutes, and so Eason got a few of those extra minutes. Last ball game, not this most recent one that folks can see on their screen, the one from whatever the hell day that Tuesday, Tate sat that ball game. He rested it. Yesterday, Tate was in. He played. He didn't have a minute restriction or anything. He wasn't in significant foul trouble. And Eason just got to go more. Was some of that garbage time? Possibly. But was some of it just a realization that developing Eason is now more important than giving Jayshawn Tate 26 minutes per ball game? It's hard to know with the Rockets because a lot of their developmental decisions this year have been kind of weird, kind of unpredictable. A lot of it, what we've seen at least, seemingly, is that Houston is trying to make decisions based on who's going to play better defense. And it does feel like Tari Eason is among the players that at least has a shot on the defensive side of the ball. I remain concerned that Tate's going to take those minutes back. And as KPJ gets ramped up and Jalen Green gets fully ramped up and all that stuff, that this is going to put a squeeze again on Eason. But his fantasy game is so unbelievably robust. This is why we held on to him for a couple of weeks before the trade deadline in the hopes that the Rockets would move forward at the deadline. They didn't. Spoiler alert. They just moved Eric Gordon. But if he's actually going to get there, 25 minutes is very much the cutoff for him to be a must-start play. So pick him up if he's available. Let's see how this thing goes. We're hoping for kind of a speculative ad that turns into a full-blown ad, but you want to kind of stay in front of it. So that's why he was a speculative ad yesterday, basically, or whenever. Lakers beat the Thunder without everybody. I don't know what the hell the plan is here with LA. It sounds like D'Angelo Russell is likely to miss their next ball game. Lakers play tomorrow, and I feel like that's a tougher one. I'm forgetting who the actual schedule is. We can pull this up live on air. Oh, they're hosting the Timberwolves. Yikes, that's a really tough one. What a shame. I think Anthony Davis will be back for that ball game, although Darvin Ham, the way he was talking about AD was a little weird. They said, oh, this was planned. I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to the Darvin Ham pregame presser, but then all the aggregators picked up on it and kind of interpreted it in their own way. What I heard, and this is just my lone interpretation, so whether that's right or wrong, I'm not entirely certain yet, was that the Lakers were like, yes, this was a planned absence for AD from basically when he came back from injury. This was a game that we had earmarked as a rest day. But I also feel like maybe part of that was this ballgame against the Thunder was earmarked as a rest game when the Lakers figured they would have LeBron and whatever they were able to pull from the trade deadline. But they were down LeBron and down D'Angelo Russell. And so it felt like once we knew that was the case 2 days ago, it really felt like AD should have been playing in this ball game instead of the Memphis one. Now, it didn't end up burning the Lakers. LA somehow managed to sneak through this thing. Dennis Schroeder played through a tweaked ankle. Troy Brown got really hot. That was colossal. Mo Bamba hit 3 3-pointers. Lakers made 16 threes and, frankly, saved themselves. This win for LA might have saved the Lakers season for the moment because they're now just a game back at the Pelicans for that last play-in spot, and they moved back in front of the Trailblazers. But this is a huge game. The Wolves are 32-32. They're a game and a half up on the Lakers. Wolves have been playing better lately. If the Lakers don't have AD, I don't see how they win that ball game. But with him, they have an outside shot. And, of course, with him, that means that Mo Bamba is probably not a stream anymore. Figured he would be yesterday, and he ended up being pretty good. And we know this about Bamba. He really only needs about 22 to 25 minutes to be a fantasy asset, and that's what he got here with AD out. Troy Brown Jr., there was no way to know that was coming. Schroeder was an expected one. Reeves was a possible. He was like a coin flip we mentioned on yesterday's show. I thought Malik Beasley would be better. I like that he took 15 shots. He just didn't make very many of them. He's a guy I would definitely stream again. Same story for Jared Vanderbilt. He's going to have, maybe there's a little bit of a revenge thing going on, but even without it, he's going to be out there going full energy mode. And so it just comes out to where do the rebounds go? The Thunder take a ton of threes. They didn't make a ton of them yesterday, but that forced Vanderbilt kind of away from the rebounding spot. He was out there defending key guys on the other side, and that makes it harder for him to get defensive boards. And, this is what you got. 7 points, 4 boards, a steal, and a block. I still think Vanderbilt is a must-own player the rest of the way, and that's where I sit with the Lakers. For the Thunder, who are without SGA for probably another game or two while he deals with COVID, Jalen Williams, obviously. Isaiah Joe is a guy we've been streaming with SGA out. He had a quiet one, and kind of we all looked at each other like, where'd you go, Isaiah? What are you only taking 5 shots for? Well, he got back in the mix here with 11 shots and a bunch of fouls. Joe, I think, is streamable. Giddey is a stream. And then Kenrich Williams, by the way, got ruled out for the season with a wrist injury. That sucks. But does it open up sort of an addition by subtraction thing? Can Jalen Williams, Lin, can he now carve out that center spot? He played 25 minutes. He had 12 rebounds. He's more of a schedule stream right now, but let's keep a close watch on it just in case. And then finally in the late ball game, Anthony Simons tried to play through his ankle injury and, of course, how many times? I'm so irritated about this. I don't have Anthony Simons on any of my fantasy teams because I figured he was going to generally get overdrafted for his scoring ability, and then Dame missed a bunch of time early in the year, and Simons went nuts, and then it became like the most obvious sell high spot in the history of fantasy basketball when Dame came back. Simons was up in the 40 range. He's now at 81. He's been pretty steadily falling over the last 2 months or so since Lillard got back in the mix and has been going completely nuts by himself. Simons has been about a top 100 play for most of the year when Dame is around. Well, he's re-aggravated his situation. Luckily for me, I don't have him anywhere. And if you guys listen to the pod during draft season, you probably don't have many Anthony Simons outside of spots where maybe you're sort of targeting points and threes and punting some other stuff. But what this does on the Portland side is it continues to leave open an opportunity for somebody besides Damian Lillard and Jeremy Grant to take a shot or two. And lately, and this has really boggled the mind, it's been Matisse Thybulle. He's out there and he's actually taking shots in the Portland offense. This is a guy that, you couldn't pay him enough to shoot the ball in Philadelphia, but he's doing it in Portland, and it's beautiful. So Thybulle, must-add player. We wondered if he'd be able to do anything besides just steals and blocks, which, by the way, you're going to get those out of him in starters minutes, and he had 5 defensive stats again yesterday, but 8 boards? Wow. 4 assists? Holy smokes. And 2 more 3-pointers. Again, I think this is probably one of the best lines you're going to get out of Thybulle. But the fact that he's doing a sort of a better than expected number in 2 out of every 3 ball games right now makes him a guy that needs to be played in almost every format. Go check. He might have gotten dropped in some leagues where people were like, well, yeah. And I did it. I had him in a bunch of spots, and then I kind of moved on in places where I was like, I don't really need steals in this particular league. Well, he's doing more than that right now. So check on it. Go at least look at the wire and see if somebody was like, I don't really need defensive stats, and then moved on. But right now he's doing more, and Simons, my guess, probably misses another week here after trying to come back too soon. So we have a little more shelf life. And frankly, I think Thybulle continues to play even after Simons comes back, even if the shot total comes down a little bit. We also had a tweak here on the New Orleans side. Trey Murphy came off the bench and played much better than Josh Richardson in the starting unit. And so Richardson was awful, and Murphy was better. Not outstanding, but better. 32 minutes is the thing you're looking at there. Ingram has been pretty amazing on offense, but for the Pelicans lately, it's been about hitting the big shot and guarding someone, which they did kind of finally do in this ball game. Jackson Hayes and Willie Hernan Gomez filled in for Jonas Valanciunas. Hayes had the better ball game there, but the fact that they're just splitting the minutes pretty much down the pipe makes it really hard to trust either of them in JV absences. Herb Jones only had 1 steal. He's still a hold, though. Starters minutes for Herb is a pretty easy call. He'll be a top 100 play. And then just keep an eye on the Trey Murphy, Josh Richardson thing. This was kind of the fear there was, well, if the Pelicans aren't winning playing more Jay Rich, is he guaranteed the opportunity to stay in the starting lineup? I wouldn't be that surprised if we saw Richardson moved back out of the starting 5 and Trey Murphy back in, but maybe they give it another game or two just to kind of see what shakes out. Just keep a close watch on it, because if Richardson gets bumped back to the bench, he probably doesn't become a must roster in all formats the way he has been lately. Let's take a look at what's coming up tonight, the Thursday card. It's a smaller one. So remember last week, everything was kind of inverted coming back from the All-Star break. This is more normal. Toronto, I think we have a pretty good feel for what they are now that they're healthy. Gary Trent, bench gunner. Jakob Poeltl, starting 5. Kristaps Porzingis likely back for the Wizards. Monte Morris still out for a bit longer. Someone told me lately that everybody's been saying his name wrong and that it's not Monte Morris, it's Monte Morris. And I feel bad about that. And I feel like we should have known because there's an accent on the E, but no one's ever really pronounced it. So screw it. I will. Monte, he's week to week, which means Delon Wright is week to week in our starting lineups. Heyo. Daniel Gafford, Denny Avdia probably now lose their value with Porzingis back. We can wait on confirmation in this ball game if you like, but I feel pretty confident about it. Philly on the back-to-back in Dallas. I would expect Joel Embiid back for this ball game. We'll see, I suppose, but it is a back-to-back. And I think Philly feels like they're pretty well locked into their pocket in the Eastern Conference. I mean, they won the game without Embiid yesterday, but they're 4 games back of the Celtics for getting up into the top 2. And they're 3 games up on the Cavaliers for falling back into the 4 slot and 4.5 up on the Knicks. So I feel like they're kind of in their lane, and now it's an opportunity. You'll see Philly maybe rest people from time to time, which does put DeAnthony Melton kind of back on the map if they give Harden a day off, or Maxey a day off, or Joel another day off. Melton moves into extra stuff when that happens. Dallas has been struggling. They are in feel-it-out chemistry mode, which is always the case when you put 2 primaries together. Neither one really knows who's supposed to be the guy in a given moment. And these things tend to take about 20 games to resolve themselves. Dallas is going to have to figure out faster than that, but we'll see. Otherwise, Christian Wood, I actually don't think he's on the injury report. Sounds like he's okay to play his mid-20s in minutes, but now with Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell around, that front court got real log jammed up. And then the wings are all log jammed too, because they got THJ, Reggie Bullock, now Justin Holiday, Josh Green. I mean, I think Christian Wood's probably around a top 100 play, but he's iffy. And then you got the stars, and I don't think there's anything beyond those dudes. Indiana, nothing. Spurs, Trey Jones is back for this ball game. He's listed as probable, which that's a big deal, as is Devin Vassell. Kind of the big news from yesterday. Devin Vassell is off the injury report. So the Spurs might rest some other people to make sure that they have a nice shot to lose this ball game. Keldon Johnson is questionable. Malachi Branham is questionable. I still feel like these teams that are so far down at the bottom, the Spurs are 15 and 47. The bottom 3 teams all have the same odds to get the top pick. And the Hornets are 5 games up on the Spurs. No, 4 games up on the Spurs. So I kind of feel like San Antonio could just sort of play their guys as normal over the final, what do they have now, 20 games left of the year? I just don't think they need to force a tank at this point because they're pretty safely in the bottom 5, or bottom 3 rather. But we'll see. I would expect Trey Jones to be on a minutes cap. I would expect Devin Vassell to also be on a minutes cap. So those guys would be really hard to use in a games cap format. But head-to-head, you can get them back into your lineups and just kind of hope that they do enough. Or if you really had a lot of wiggle room, you could leave them in your IL for one more day and just make sure that they actually get through this game healthy and safe and then fire them up. But this probably means that Devontae Graham is going to disappear unless Branham and Johnson both sit this one out. I would expect Zach Collins to remain solid at the center spot. And once Vassell and Jones are healthy, those are actually 2 other 9 category guys. the Spurs might finally have some dudes that can be 9-cat assets here. Thank the good Lord. Clippers Warriors. Man, this is really intriguing because a week ago I had told you the Clippers would run the Warriors out of town, and right now these two teams are going in really different directions. Warriors just got news that Steph might be back next week. That's big for them. And the Clippers, while trying to figure out how rotations work with Russell Westbrook, are creating chemistry issues and losing ball games. Close games, because the Clippers have so much talent that they're going to be right there, even in games where things are a little bit disjointed. But, they've lost 3 in a row, 2 of them in overtime. And then the last one I think that was to the Wolves, right? I mean, these are games the Clippers need to win. This is a game they're going to be fighting for because this is basically the battle for the 5 seed. No one wants to fall to 6. The Mavericks are right behind them to climb out of the play-in tournament. Wins are extraordinarily important right now. And the Clippers are screwing around with rotations late in the year. And Clippers media circles are super annoyed about it. We'll just keep an eye on things. Will Zubats continue to hold off Plumlee? Will Norman Powell continue now to get marginalized by Russell Westbrook? Will Westbrook continue to basically be playing the perfect Westbrookian game and, holding that role together? But how long is that going to stick, especially if they're losing? He hasn't even gone full Russ yet, which, that's the optimal way to go, and it's still not really working. But it's not his fault. It's the fault of the Clippers for dropping in a high-usage guy at this stage of the ballgame and saying, hey, figure this out. That's a hard thing to do in early March. But we shall see. And then for the Warriors, I haven't seen the morning update on Andrew Wiggins. I think he's still out. I think I would probably play... Oh, by the way, Keldon Johnson just got ruled out in the last 10 seconds. So he's taking a day off while they work in some of the other guys, presumably. Back to the Clippers, though, or the Warriors, rather. Dante DiVincenzo is probably a start regardless. He's really carved out a nice spot. And then other than that, there's sort of no real surprises on the Warriors side of the ledger. And that is your Wednesday review and Thursday look ahead for everybody that's hanging out with us on YouTube. Put your questions in the chat room. This is when we're going to segue into that. For everybody that hangs out with us on the recorded side, I do hope you'll join us live on YouTube for the next one. And also, check out our fantasy baseball draft guide. I got to hit you with one promo in today's show. Come on, it's only fair. It's at sportsethos.com. Click on the premium tab and choose Get Premium. It's just $5.99 for a month of the Fantasy Pass. There is no lock. You could just get the $5.99 and then cancel after 30 days if you want. That gives you access not only to the baseball draft guide, but also to our ongoing Fantasy NBA premium package, which means premium Discord access. You get the one-on-one opportunity to chat with the pros. If you have questions, you can hit us up over there in Discord. And frankly, we have a free Discord that's kind of popping off these days. I love what we've been able to do over there. Frankly, I think that's over the last 7 to 10 days. We've got chat rooms open for basketball, baseball, football, hockey, golf, disc golf chat. We got some rooms now where we post our free content where you can track it basically by feature if there's a particular one that you like. So come join us in Discord. And in fact, what I'm going to do now, recorded listeners, you guys know it's in the description of the show. I think it's actually in the description of the show, even on the YouTube side. But I'm going to post it in the YouTube chat room, and I'm going to throw it up on the screen right now while we're kind of wrapping things up here. That's our Discord link. I don't know how easy that is for you guys to click while you're watching the show, but if you can go over to the chat, you can click on that. You can pop in and join us. And I hope you will, because a lot of cool stuff's going on the free side over at the Sports Ethos Discord as well. Recorded listeners, we'll be back tomorrow with a week in review show. We finally get to do one of those after weirdo all-star break situation. We didn't really get to do it the last couple of weeks. That's always fun for me. Again, I hope you'll join us live. Like and subscribe on YouTube when you do. If you're listening recorded, please drop a 5-star on this bad boy and hit me up over on Twitter at Dan Besbris, DanBesbris. I will see you there, and I will talk to you recorded, folks, tomorrow. YouTubers, holy crap. There's 100 of you watching today. I'm so excited. I can't believe we continue to grow like this. This is really fun for me. Because I've just been like punching and punching and punching at this YouTube stuff and kind of wondering like, when is it going to click? When are we going to be able to kind of get over that hurdle and hit the next threshold for how many people find the show as it's going? And I feel like we kind of did that. That's so exciting for me. And if I could ask you all, if you're watching and you're enjoying the show and you like what we're doing here at Sports Ethos and specifically here on YouTube, please hit that like button. There's 100 of you watching and there are only 27 likes on the show right now. I want to see some new subscribers. I hope you guys will join us as we continue to do these live shows. I'm trying to do it every day, kind of in the mid-9s right now while I'm doing more kid drop-offs in the AM. But 2 weeks, we'll be able to go back to much closer to 9 a.m. Pacific time for the start on this bad boy. Keep throwing your questions in the chat room. We're going to lightning round those suckers right now. And also, you can see the Discord link on the screen in front of you. Come join us over there. I don't know if anybody's clicked that thing yet. I'm trying to keep Discord muted if I can. But hopefully we'll see some of you guys join us over on the Discord side as well. Kyung is right. Hit that like button. Let's see a few of those pop up. There's so many of you hanging out with us today. This is super cool. All right, we've got the player rank board up on the screen. Is that big enough for you guys to see? Here, let's go bigger. There we go. All right, we did the first 5 questions up at the top of the show. Again, if you have questions, throw them in the YouTube chat. We're going to do those right now. We left off at Nadia Amat. Oh, you know what? That covered up the screen. So we got to go this way so you can actually see it to the side of the question. I just talked a lot and real fast, so my voice kind of needs a refractory period here. Nadia says, playoffs next week. Zubats and Bassi are my centers. Also, Mark Williams and Jared Allen. Okay, so those are your centers. Should I drop Zoo and Bassi for more games? They only play 2 times or punt big stats. Yeah, I would drop Bassi. He's a 2-game week next week. Spurs are a 2-gamer. Yeah. Oh, God. In particular, they don't go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of next week. So if you wanted to, you could pick Bassi back up on Friday because then the Spurs kind of segue into a much better stretch of games. But yeah, they go Sunday and then they're off for 4 days. So at that point, you definitely need to drop your Spurs. As far as the Clippers go, their schedule is a little bit more spaced out. I would probably move on from Zoo and stream that spot. But if you didn't want to, he's the one of those 2 guys that makes a little bit more sense to kind of just hold on a little. Would you trade for Thibault? And if so, for who? Ranking range. Top 100. Don't go overboard. I think right now he's playing kind of at his peak. And at some point, Nurk is going to come back. And then at some point, Simons is going to come back. And things are going to get squeezed out a little bit. All right, just making sure that everybody knows we've segued into Q&A here. Oh, there we go. That's the one from early in the show that I typed. Seriously, though, like and subscribe. What's your thought on these players? Keegan Murray, Tari Eason, Delon Wright, Jalen Durant, Daniel Gafford. You got enough of those dudes in there, Lester? Top 100. Okay, so let's say who's going to have top 100 the rest of the year. Keegan Murray's going to be right around the edge of the top 100. Tari Eason is a coin flip because his stuff is all based on this Jayshawn Tate thing. Delon Wright, I think, is a yes. Durant is a yes if he can get healthy, but I don't know what his timeline is, so he's a maybe. Gafford's a no. Now that Porzingis is back. All right, look, dude, I get it. 40 degrees is like spring over here in New York. Here's the problem, though. I was sitting perfectly still for 3.5 hours in 40 degrees with 20-mile-an-hour winds trying to call a baseball game and hold a pen and mark a scorebook. It's very different if I'm like in my ski gear and I can move around and do stuff to get the blood pumping, but it's really hard to sit perfectly still when you're getting chilled to the bone like that. It looked like Ayton still did pretty well with KD back, but he'll shoot less. I'm looking to trade for him on today's trade deadline day. You don't think he'll take that big of a step back, do you? No, I don't think that big of a step. Small step back. Small step. You might... I don't know. Oh, boy, it's tough because your trade deadline day is today. I was going to say maybe wait until he has like 1 or 2 slightly slower ball games and people freak out that it's the KD effect. You're still going to kind of have to pay full price for Ayton if you traded for him today. So maybe not the best move unless you can gauge. Maybe you can talk to the other GM in your league. Here, I'll go back to this question so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Maybe you can go to the GM that has Ayton in your league and you're like, hey, he's about to trend down with KD. And maybe you can, plant the seed a little. But he did look pretty good yesterday. And so people probably aren't panicking yet. Oh my God, we're over 110 now? This is crazy. Also, does the fact that Devin Vassell comes back change your opinion on him? I still think he's going to be an absolute train wreck to try to roster in head-to-head playoff formats, at least for the next 2 weeks. Maybe after that becomes worthwhile. Roto Games Cap, he's a really good ad. No question about that. But, he's going to be on a minutes limit. He'll probably play 20, 22 for a couple of games, and then he'll rest their back-to-back. Spurs have a back-to-back, and then a 2-game week. It's going to be a pain. Salute, Dan. Who's better, Jay Rich or Jalen Durant in a points league? It's Durant when he's playing. Sort of a loaded question because we still don't really know when he's coming back. Would you keep Bogdanovic from the Hawks or pick up Tari Eason? I'm going to go Eason in a 12-team 9-cat. We're in first week of playoffs. That one's a coin flip to me, man. It looked Bogdan, he has his hot games, he has his cold games. It kind of bounces around a little bit. I would probably keep Bogdanovic. But honestly, this probably just comes down to schedule. The Hawks have a back-to-back tomorrow, Saturday, and then a 4-game week next week. The Rockets have a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday, and then only a 3-game week next week. So, at that point, I think you're playing. Hawks have a really good schedule, actually. They go 6 games in 9 days starting tomorrow. So they make a lot of sense in that regard. Houston, they go 5 games in 8 days. I think I'd probably rather go the Hawks if you're looking at it from a head-to-head standpoint. Per Dan's request, I did request, if you have weird questions about my personal life, please throw them in there. I'm happy to answer all kinds of goofball stuff. Peanut butter and jelly, grape or strawberry? So now I unfortunately have to be careful. I love peanut butter with all of my heart. As someone with digestive issues, the fact that I found something that I love that I can actually reliably put into my body. And then my younger son is allergic to peanut butter, so we are now an almond butter household. But as far as jelly goes, it's grape over strawberry for me. We go traditional grape or black raspberry or just straight blackberry. Those jams are solid. Is Bobby Portis now officially a drop? I'm giving him 2 more games. You guys know I do everything with sort of a kind of a timer on it. Guys that have established themselves for longer, they get a slightly longer timer. Can gain more ground in assists, but need to hold ground in stocks. Should I move Booker for Claxton? I don't think. Yeah. No. I'm going to go no on this one. I think you can aim higher than Nick Claxton. He's also going to bludgeon your free throw percent. Love the steals and blocks, though. I mean, obviously, those are huge for him, but you can get more for Devin Booker. Sorry, I got to working on a hangnail here in the middle of the show. Super classy, I know. Are you dropping LeBron? Well, again, depends on the format. Currently in a bye week. Next week is the semifinals, week after the finals. 2 and a bit weeks left, all up, finishing 19th of March. New update says he is being re-evaluated in 2 weeks. I have 3 IRs, but could stack streamers to start next week. No, I am leaving LeBron in an IR slot because if he really is back, I honestly think he probably doesn't play during your playoffs, but if he does, you're going to want to be able to drop him in there for a giant game at the end. He's too good to be like your first playoff time drop. Again, guys, we're doing questions here. If you're just joining us, you can throw them in the YouTube chat. I can see a bunch of you are hanging out with us today. Hey, Dan, Bobby Portis or Onyeka Okongwu? It's Okongwu, and it's not that close. Ben, hey, Dan, long time no talk. Hope everything is good. Yeah, I almost froze to death last night, but I'm all right. Thanks for the tip about going for Philly yesterday for the week and streaming for the week. Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, I didn't even know that Joel Embiid was going to sit it out, but Philly, 5 games in 7 nights starting yesterday, so they were a really good spot. What's poppin', man? The playoffs in my 10-cat league doesn't start until week 21, which I always forget which week is which. What do you think of the trade I made for Dinwiddie, Beal, and Capella? I gave up Turner, Smart, and Jeremy Grant. All right, so let's see. Turner's the best player in this package. I admit I haven't looked at Indiana's schedule that far out, but they don't have a particularly good playoff calendar coming up here in the next couple weeks. They go 3 games, another 3, and then they have some 4s towards the very end. So there's probably a 4 kind of towards the end of it for you. But Capella's on a good run right now. They have a good schedule. Beal's on a pretty good spot right now. Dinwiddie's probably similar to Marcus Smart in value. Turner's a bit better than Beal, and then Capella's a tiny bit better than Grant. So relatively fair. I think if this helps you out, yeah, you do what you got to do. Steph Infection. Oh, are you in that league? I'm in a league called Steph Infection. Is it the same one? Tank for Chris Murray. Anyway, hey, Dan, you are the best listen when it comes to fantasy and most knowledgeable, but can you do me one favor? Stop sniffing into the mic. It's pretty gross. I can't, dude. I've had this damn cold for 4 weeks. It's absolutely killing me. I can do this, but you're still going to hear it. And I try. You guys have no idea how many turn the microphone on and off during the show to cover up the sniffs. I cannot get over this thing. It's the craziest cold I've ever had in my life. And Christopher, you've listened to me, I don't know for how long, but I've been doing these shows for 6 years. How many times have I ever sniffed into the mic prior to the last 2.5 weeks? How many? 0. I cannot shake this thing. And when I was able to do the recorded pod only, I could just pause the show if I needed to sniff. And then I'd turn and I'd blow my nose and I'd stop it for like 3 minutes. And I'd shoot Afrin up there or something. But now I'm on live. I can't like pull my nostril open live. Is that grosser? I don't know. Oh no, I'm losing listeners. Talking about my nose. Drop Gordon Hayward for Kyle Anderson. Drop Gordon Hayward or Kyle Anderson for Devin Vassell. 10-team points league. I'm going to say neither. I think Vassell's going to be a very annoying player to roster here over the next 2 weeks in head-to-head formats. So I'd rather go with the guys that are going to be playing full minutes. Paul George, Bam Adebayo, Benedict Mathurin for Walker Kessler, Lowry Markkanen, Cam Johnson, 12-team Yahoo Points League. Which side wins? I think the PG side wins here. I love Markkanen. He's been great. Kessler's been very good lately. Cam's better. You kind of like that's the depth side because Mathurin is iffy, but I think I'll lean to the Paul George side on this one. Jay Rich was injured. Game time decision. This be why he didn't play much, and Trey Murphy stepped up. I mean, maybe, yeah, but he played, and Trey was better. So we'll see. If he really was trying to play through something, and we get a report on that, then I'll assume that he's going to start their next ball game. But if Trey just got hot. Anyway, we'll see. In one of my 3 weekly leagues, I want to improve free throw and assist to turnover cat while maintaining steals and threes. Oh my God. Which 2 to stream for? Which 2 to stream for the week? Okay, we need to stream 2. Weekly league. Improve free throw and assist to turnover while maintaining steals and threes. Oh, Lord. Well, Kuzma is not going to help you there. He's the bad free throw shooter in this mix. Giddey, oh boy. Honest to goodness, I'm sorry, dude. I just don't know. I can't do this one off the top of my head. It's too much for a live chat. Sorry, Hab. I answer all your other questions, but this one's too much. What do you think about Bulls players as trade targets? Vooch and DeRozan kind of look like buy lows right now, but will Bulls pull the plug? I don't think they're going to pull the plug. They're close enough where they can keep scratching for that 10 seed until the very end. So, yeah, I'm fine with that. See, sorry, guys. It's just happening right now. My sinuses are so goofed. There, I turned it off and I tried to do like 3 in a row. I told my wife I don't think I'm ever going to be healthy again. It's probably accurate. Are there any other top 50 players you would target for field goal percent and free throw percent besides Vooch and DeRozan? That's a good question. We can kind of look at it. Here, we'll pull it up right here on your screen. Guys that are a little slumpy and good at both. Devin Booker, if people are worried about the fall off here, is an interesting idea. Jalen Brunson's going to be a hard guy to pry away, but he's pretty good at both. Beal's actually been good at both, if a bit injury prone this season. To Tobias Harris is one you can get for much cheaper than the other players. Cam Johnson you can probably get for relatively cheap because he's a pretty efficient dude. And then if you want to look way up at the top of the board, you were talking about DeRozan and Vooch, those guys are going to cost you a little bit more than the other ones. Yes, they're good options in that range. DeRozan is excellent at both. Adebayo actually has been oddly a positive in both of those, although I don't know that I would trust the free throw percent to definitely maintain. Lauri Markkanen would cost you an arm and a leg, but he's been good in both. And then you're kind of getting up into the probably way too expensive audience. Hey, there's that Discord link again. Oh, no. There's too many questions. All right, I got to go lightning round, guys. Sorry, we're going to go super quick now. Drop Malachi Branham for Matisse Thybulle. Points league. Yes. Charles Bassey or Kevon Looney for the next 3 games. Looney. Anthony Simons rest of season. Top 100 when he comes back. What up, Dan the Man? Nah, today's up to 58 in New York. See? Call you out, Richard. Your own New York contingent is telling you that you're fibbing. Thoughts on Kyle Lowry? Top 90 when he comes back. How do I like the stream? I don't know. How do you like the stream? Thoughts on Kevin Porter Jr.? Is he a drop, or will he start being productive again? Missed some gimmies last night. I think he'll get revved back up to that top 100 range where he was kind of kicking along for a little bit there. Hey, Dan, my playoffs start next week. Do you think my team set? Sorry for the long comment. Damnable nose. Dylan Brooks, Malik Monk, Jalen Durant are the guys that you should have on your chopping block because Bogdanovic has a good schedule, so that is what keeps him kind of above the fray there, especially if Durant's hurt. Might have to drop Jamal Murray to stream in for threes for the weekend. Do it. I'm in a tight playoff match. Oh, man, I wish you didn't have to. That's rough because that'll come back and burn you. I know he doesn't play Saturday or Sunday, but they go right into a 4-game week next week. I would try to find another way if you can. DSJ or Longstream for playoffs in a points league. Him and Durant would be my worst player, but Durant's in the IR. You probably need a streamer slot. As much as I love Dennis Smith Jr., he's probably profiling as like an 80 to 100 range dude, given the fact that they pushed Kelly Oubre into the starting 5. So I'm okay with it. I'd rather you didn't, but I am okay with it. You got to be streaming something because extra games are worth more than Dennis Smith Jr. I need points today, Saturday and or Sunday in a deep 12-teamer. Devontae Graham, Keita Bates-Diop, Reggie Bullock, Jayshawn Tate, someone else. Well, it sounds like the Spurs are going to get a few guys back, but also probably going to be missing some other guys. So it's probably Devontae Graham of the guys on your board. I don't know who else is available, but of those names, he's the one I would trust the most, at least here in the short term. And I'm guessing the Spurs rest some guys on the back-to-back, and he might not be one of them. QQ. Would you trade Jalen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson? Finals on my 10-teamer is, here. For Anthony Edwards. Brunson and Mitch Rob for Anthony Edwards. Ooh. If I get there, New York is playing 2 games and Minnesota is playing 4. That's a big overpay, isn't it? Anthony Edwards is 34 and Jalen Brunson's 44. I mean, that's a big jump. I get it, but are you going to be able to get to the last week without Brunson and Mitch Rob? If you're pretty sure you can get there, you do it. Any tips or tricks for scouting / game planning your playoff matchup? Yeah, you got to look to see who you're playing and see if there are categories where you can attack them in places where maybe they're not quite certain. I'm playing someone in a non-playoff week this week where he has a 6-game advantage on me even while I'm trying to stream. So I had to switch it up, and I'm attacking categories I haven't tried to win pretty much the entire year. But sometimes you got to flip it on its head. But if you can boost your games played, then you don't have to really worry about it quite so much. Should I drop Dennis Smith Jr. for Matisse Thybulle? I think you go either way. I think both these guys probably hover in the 100 range. I think I'd rather have DSJ because we know the guy that was blocking him is out for the year. And in Portland, Nurk and Simons probably will eventually surface. So long-term, I think I prefer Dennis Smith Jr. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Clicking the wrong thing here. Should I stream Grayson Allen for the weekend back-to-back or Bassey to try to get blocks instead of keeping Jamal, or drop Gabe Vincent after Friday's game for one of them? Yeah, I think I would drop Gabe Vincent for one of those dudes. I like that better. Aren't you from Cali? It snowed in Burbank yesterday. Yeah, that's insane. My mom was actually driving down from the valley to Torrance, and she got snowed on and hailed on. I was at USC. The game I was calling was Dado Field on the Trojans campus, and it didn't there. So I guess we got lucky somehow. And I was driving out there in the afternoon. Maybe it happened a little bit earlier in the day. That was crazy, though. I couldn't believe it. Someone was like, yeah, it snowed. And I was like, what? All I know is that I was freaking frosty. Frosty. All right, we're getting to the end here, guys. No more questions. We'll answer the 3 that are in there right now, or the 2, whatever. Was offered Luka Doncic for JJJ. My other bigs are Embiid, Kessler, Clax, Durant, Steven Adams in first place, first round bye. I mean, JJJ is a higher ranked guy in 9-cat, but I mean, really depends on how your team is built. You know, if you need to win blocks in a given week, you still have Walker Kessler and Nick Claxton. It feels like you could probably still win blocks without JJJ. So I think I would consider doing it, but don't let it completely blow up your team, though. Seriously, how are there only 34 likes on this thing when there were 115 of you watching for a stretch there? Miami and Atlanta have 6 games in 9 days in a points league. Do you prefer Hunter or Love? Points league, probably Hunter. I just feel like Love could sit those games or get demoted. Just feels like it's ready to happen. Keldon Johnson out today. Yep. Vassell and Trey Jones back. Does that make Kata-Base Jop or Doug McDermott better to stream than Devontae Graham? Mostly just need points. I think I'd still go Graham. I just trust him to take more shots. But at the same time, if Branham is out, then you might go McDermott because we saw him get a bunch of shots up in the last one. I win blocks by 15 to 20 each week. Yeah, I mean, if you get Luka and then maybe stream 1 or 2 blocks, like 1 or 2 games of an additional block guy, that probably covers your butt. Thoughts on Sohan? He's not a 9-cat guy. He's a points league type. All right, guys, this is a huge one. Please like and subscribe on your way out. We're trying to do this every single day. Those of you that joined us for the first time today, I know there are at least a few of you. Please, before you click X on the window or switch out on your mobile device, hit the like button and check out subscribing. This was, I think, our biggest Fantasy NBA Today, just sort of rolling live show that we've had all year. And that is so awesome. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Back tomorrow with the weekend review show. Same bat time, same bat channel. At Dan Besbris on Twitter. Also, if any of you found this not through social media,